Dad Cam.
What's cooking, Gumbo Nation? You're listening to Mortgage Gumbo with Dwayne Stein right here on iHeartRadio, and I'm your host, Dwayne Stein, the Gulf South Mortgage Authority. This is your home show where for 9+ years we've been providing education and options to folks just like you on what will be or already is your largest investment and most valuable asset, your home. If you're new to the show, welcome. Glad to have you. Welcome to the Gumbo Nation. Think you're going to like what you find here, obviously. If you found us by accident, stick around. Check it out. You can also, all the streaming services. You can go, Google, go on YouTube, type in Mortgage Gumbo, subscribe there, 600+ educational videos. Follow us, the Gumbo Nation Facebook group, Facebook, all that kind of fun stuff. Instagram, you know it, all that fun stuff. What a week. What a week it was. What a week coming up, right? So let me be the first to say happy Valentine's Day to all those out there. Big day on Wednesday, followed up by happy Mardi Gras, which will be going on Tuesday. Yep, absolutely. Get that rocking and rolling. So, big week. Even if you want to mention, consumer price index reports coming out. I mean, wow. Now it's just bonkers. Just absolutely crazy. Today, hey, Credit Awareness a Month continues. Get so much feedback on this. I love it. I love the month of February. I love doing this. The education and just letting people know what's out there. So Credit Awareness Month continues. Today on the show, we're going to give you tips and tricks. Hey, what to look at when you're looking at your credit. Great, you get it every month, but what to look at. And then we're going to go, last week we broke down each category and how your credit scored. Now we're going to go right back through those sections and kind of give you some tips and tricks on how you can have an immediate impact on your score and how you can improve your credit score. It's not a big, long process, right? But we'll get into that. Folks, debt. Debt is getting ugly. It's almost like the movie Ghostbusters when under the city, the rivers are bubbling and some bad stuff's happening. Debt's getting very ugly. We're going to talk a little bit about that. The numbers for 2023 came out, it's alarming, very alarming. But we're going to tell you, hey, what's going on? What can you do? How can you help yourself? We don't just sit here and spew out stuff. We give you the whys, and hey, how can you go forward? And then the Fed, 15 minutes of fame. 15 minutes of fame, these folks, and I'm not against it, but man, everybody's got to try to get on the same page. I mean, it's like Powell speaks, who's the Fed chair, and then everybody that works for him. Like, can you imagine every day your boss telling you to do something and you just defying it altogether? I know that's becoming a little bit more of the norm in today's world, it seems like, but it's bananas. So everybody getting their 15 minutes of fame. We'll talk on that. But first, Mad Hatters last Sunday. What a ride. Shout out to all those. I saw so many signs. My son actually thinks I'm cool now. So I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Dave, dude, literally. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I appreciate you throwing up the Dad Cam sign as well. But man, we saw a bunch of signs, and my son's like, "All right, Dad, not too bad, not too shabby." And he actually had one guy come up and go, "Man, good luck to your son this baseball season. Is this him to your right?" So Gavin shook his hand and all that kind of stuff. So. All real cool. So that was good, so that was pretty cool. And Dave, you were out there. I mean, look, stunk, is that the word? Yeah, it stunk that we were unable to ride, right, on Saturday.
Yeah.
But, dude, Sunday was glorious. And,
Weather was freaking
bro,
phenomenal. The crowds were great. And
Dave, that was Mardi Gras crowds, bro.
Yeah, and a testament to the crew, though, because y'all kept all the bands, all
Yeah.
the bands that are on the floats. There
Yeah.
were bands in between.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people have to redo a parade, all those bands go bye-bye.
Man,
So they work on the crew.
Joey and his wife, I mean, they are amazing, and that's why I'm so proud to be part of it, part of Bayou Charters float. I mean, with Cap Charlie, it was just really, really an amazing time, a great ride. And but here's what I've learned: nobody wants beads, bro. Nobody wants beads, dude.
They want blinky stuff.
They blinky, and the Mad Hatters, we throw the hats, so that is just genius by Joey creating that environment. Unless the beads are shirtless worthy, nobody wants them, right? And they want specialty stuff, and then also the footballs, stuffed animals. My gosh.
I bring more and more bags whenever we go to the parades because, like, it's not just beads you've got now. You got these weird little, like, staffs. We went to Eve, and, like, I don't even know what the heck they were throwing. But it was, like, weird little apple scepters. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
I blinked, and all the kids lost their minds.
That's all everybody wants. So next year, probably going to cut out the beads and just throw stuffed animals and fun stuff like that. But it was crazy with that crowd. We had just the right amount of throws, but just an amazing ride. So again, shout out to all the Gumbo Nation, the folks there that looked out, put up the signs, came by and said hi. Awesome, thank you. At least I know we got some folks out there listening, right, Dave? And then this past week, special shout out. And listen, I don't talk about this, but I do it. And if you have a group, if you have a company, a corporation, and you want somebody to come speak to you, I'm pretty good. I'll pat myself on the back there. But shout out to North Shore Professional Insurance Agents this week over at Keith Young's, probably 50, 60 people. Brian Cook and Elaine, I really appreciate them having me out there to talk to just a group of professionals, restoration companies, insurance companies, real estate industry experts, and just kind of give an idea of what are we seeing, and more importantly, where's it going, right? Because there's so much out there. So, look, if you're a real estate broker or company and you want somebody to come in and kind of chat a little bit more, no propaganda. Look, just come in there, talk to your team, or if you've got a company and hey, want me to come in and do a speech? I've even done a couple motivational chats. I could get pretty fired up. So promote your company. More than happy to do that. Just get in touch with me at info@mortgagegumbo.com. So good stuff there. This past week was mega, mega busy, and I like it. We'll take it, no doubt about it. So with that being said, the Fed, Powell, went on, did a 60 Minutes interview, and you know this, Gumbo Nation. This is nothing new to you because you listen. Now, if you're new to the show, then, you'll be able to understand the whys and why the audience and why we have such a great following. Because I told you in November and I told you in December the Fed wasn't going to be cutting rates anytime soon. Well, the market was so excited when Powell came in and said that there was going to be no more rate cuts he saw in December. Well, all of a sudden, the market started reacting to, well, hey, we're going to all of a sudden, that if no more rate hikes, then that means cuts have got to be coming. Right? So if I'm not going to hike anymore, or we're in a good spot, we're going to watch it for a little bit, well, that means cuts have got to be coming. And I told you to temper that emotion because the data just doesn't show that. And you know how I feel about headlines. I look into what the data is, and the data is just not showing that. So I don't have a problem with Powell going on to 60 Minutes talking about, look, folks, we're looking at jobs reports on showing that we should start cutting right now. Regardless if you know that I call it the BS jobs report, the data's not showing that. And not only that, you got wages and all these things that are supposed to be up. And we're going to talk in depth about personal savings rate. I'm going to give you some numbers on that I think you're going to, and give you the whys. I want you to start thinking about how much money do I actually save, right? But so Powell spoke, and that's fine. You know, he sits in the big chair. He's earned the right as Fed chairman to speak. The problem is in today's world, everybody gets their 5 minutes of fame. And so Powell speaks on Sunday. Well, you wake up on Monday and then you start getting and you don't see a big reaction until you start getting all the minions, all the wannabe Fed chair people who get some local news outlet or somebody to get a quote from them. And then they start going, you get a couple of them that go, well, we can maybe see us having to raise rates. Maybe we're not done cutting. Well, it poops the bed on the market, right, especially on mortgage rates, and we see a little bit of a hiccup. And at one point on Monday, rates were back up above 7. Now we've come back down below that. But again, if you've been listening, you know this is nothing new. It's not like, you know, hey, the rates are falling. They're going to fall, right? But it's going to be, as Dave put, the ladybug ride. Or as we said last week, you know, the rates went up at a elevator level speed, and they're going to come down taking the stairs. It's going to be a little bit slower. So as these people speak, a lot affects it. So I don't have a problem with the 15 minutes of fame. I don't, okay? But it's got to be one voice. And when you're contradicting your boss, right, and going against what he's saying, y'all all sit in the same freaking meetings. So somebody's not bought in. So if you've got 12 Fed governor, they're all sitting in the same meeting, the 12 that vote, and the chairman, he comes out and says, hey, here's what we've discussed. And then you got to come out and go, hey, I really don't believe that. I see us raising rates. Man, the industry is just looking for headline, and the market reacts. It reacts to it, folks. And it's like those jobs reports I told you all last year. All these jobs that are supposedly doing so great, right? If it was so great, why didn't they stop raising last year? But all these jobs created, all these jobs, and then when you look at the adjustments and the revisions, 750,000, almost 1 million less jobs than what they initially reported. I mean, that's just straight up, any way you look at it, hogwash. Folks, and for those who are hanging out on social media, you could see I've got a pile of bills with just your hand up saying help. And, man, you know, this is where we're at straight up. And I'm going to give some data and all that in a second. But it's concerning. It is concerning on what I'm seeing when it comes to debt right now. And the numbers came out this week. Total household debt is $17.5 trillion. $17.5 trillion per household in the U.S. Now, look, there's good debt. Obviously, good debt is being a homeowner, right? I mean, home ownership is good debt. We've proven how much values are going up and all that. And you know what? Being a homeowner is this is going to be your get out of jail free card over the next couple months or year. This is going to be that trump card, that ace up your sleeve is home ownership. And we'll get into that in a second. But folks, when you look at where debt's at, I mean, it is bananas. And 17.5 trillion household, okay? Credit cards. This is where Satan hangs out, and those credit cards and that interest. And everybody knows how much has that minimum monthly payment gone up in the last 18 months on those credit cards? A ton, right? Credit cards in the fourth quarter. Credit cards, $50 billion spent to get to 1.3 trillion. 50 billion in Q4 to get to 1.13. Autos, sitting at $12 billion in Q4. Balances increased on auto loans. And how can they not? I mean, cars, clunkers are now 20 grand. Oh, I don't want that clunker. 19, at the low price, $19,995. 1.6 trillion. We've talked about this on the show, and this number here is staggering. The average auto payment is now $800 a month. That's auto. Some of you that bought in 20 and 21, you're going, my mortgage payment isn't even that. Well, that's the average auto. And looking at the way the debt crisis is going, hey, it may double as a home because it's crazy. But here's what's a staggering number, and I've shared this, and you know, this number went down from what I was telling you. It was 1 out of every 4 had a payment of $1,000. Well, now it's 17%. So you go, oh, that went down. But now what it includes in this stat is this. It includes 72-month terms. So 17%, basically 1 in 5 people have a auto note of $1,000 a month with a 6-year term. Why are people not on the news talking about that? Right? Why is that not being discussed? And, oh, by the way, delinquency in all these metrics is rising, folks. That's what's concerning to me, is delinquency is rising. And that's what I want to make sure that when you're looking at debt and you're looking at how do I manage this and budgets, right? Look, reach out, info@mortgagegumbo.com. I'll send you a budget calculator and all that fun stuff. But when you're looking at it, what's crazy right now is the delinquency starting to come through. Because the moratoriums wore off, you didn't have to make your house payment for 2 years. Student loans didn't have to make it for 3.5 years, right? And now these auto payments, people just can't keep up with it. Because at the end of the day, wages aren't keeping up with inflation. They'll tell you in the headline, wages up. Wages going up 0.2% does not help with this type of inflation. So there's challenges that are there right now. And, you know, Dwayne, how? Why? How did we get here, right? Well, you could go look at every chart. And in 20 and 21, people were saving 15, 20%. You want to know why? Remember Uncle Stimmy? Remember those stimulus checks coming in? Well, nothing was open. It was hard to spend money. So people were sitting at home a little bit more, right? You had a couple drive-thrus maybe open. And people took that stimulus money, paid off some debt, got themselves in a good situation. Or refinanced into a 3% mortgage rate. So was able to save. Well, now, if you look at what's been going on since 2022 forward, and we're going to talk about this as the debt continues. We're going to do a show, and I'm probably going to have a webinar on this, and I'll let you know. You could sign up for it and all that kind of stuff. But the personal savings rate's gone. It's gone. It's under 4%. And how can you save, right? If you're a renter, landlords aren't going, hey, don't worry about it. Your wages aren't going up. Inflation's up. It's tough. It's tough. But if you're a homeowner, here's what I'm going to tell you. And I'm seeing it. refinances are picking up. And I could show you, I could personalize a plan for you once we get an application and we start looking at this to show you how getting off of your 3%, maybe taking a 6.5% rate and paying off debt, you're going to be out of your house quicker and less than with that 3%. You're going to pay back less. And you go, oh, you're getting crafty with all this stuff. It's not crafty. It's a matter of, yeah, you're hanging on. Don't wear that badge, that interest rate like a badge of honor. Look, when you're talking to your neighbor having a beer, they're not going to know the difference. Tell them you still got 3%. That's what you're doing anyway. Yet you're going inside and you're whipping up a batch of chicken or beef ramen noodles. If you're lucky, you're mixing them for some flavor. But the debt crisis is real, and we got to make sure. We got to just make sure as we move forward, especially homeowners, because you miss one payment on a mortgage, your credit score is going to plummet. You miss an auto, you miss a credit card payment, credit score is going to be affected. And that's going to affect your ability to even save more money. It's staggering the amount of money that I'm saving people right now on a cash out refinance or a home equity loan. People aren't calling right now going, hey, and if they are, I'm telling them now's not the right time. Hey, Dwayne, I got 7.6. Should I refinance right now? No, it's not time. It doesn't make any sense. But maybe you need to start writing down that debt. Hey, go over to Mortgage Gumbo, right? Go in there, click on resources. I've got a credit card calculator. Go see how much interest you're paying on that. Have a conversation, because I know you feel this burden. And it really starts hitting about right now, because what you're getting in the mail right now is Santa's bill. It's hitting, and you're staring at it. And you're like, maybe you're not even with that individual anymore. Or maybe you're like, man, do I really need to be spending that much money on my cousin Joe's aunt, sister's, niece's brother? So there's things that you got to look at, you got to start considering. So the debt crisis, it's here, it's upon us. It's upon us. And that's one of the things, you fall behind now on a credit card, folks, they're not going to let you just stay past due. They're going to cut you off. They're going to close your line. Then you're really screwed. Now you had 100%. You can't get money. You can't borrow it. Now what? That's why your personal savings rate starts falling even lower. Even lower. So it's a little bit of that fool's gold, all that money when we're saving all that money. And think about it. Think about this. This is what's crazy. All that money that we're getting as stimulus checks and all that stuff being dangled like a carrot in front of you. And it looks so attractive and so good. You were saving all that when rates were at zero. Zero. You're putting all that money in that bank with free checking. And now, when you could go get 6-7% CDs, you can get some money at just having your money in a normal savings account, getting 5%, 4%. You can't save. Right? You see how things operate? So now's the time that, man, if it was opposite, right? If you had that money, you'd be making money on your money. But you had that money you put in the bank making zero. So just be smart. Be smart. Have a conversation. It's between me and you. We're not broadcasting it. But I can tell you the client this week that I'm taking from 3.75 to 6.75, but paying off $1,800 a month in debt, they'll be okay. Because when I've showed them how to put the money back in plus save, it's amazing. They're actually going to get out of their mortgage quicker when you look at amortizing. If they were to keep it for the next 30 years. All right, let's get into our weekly segment we like to call Great Watch. All right, folks, you're looking at 30-year conventional, 6.98. I don't like it. I don't like it close to 7. Good news is it was above 7 for a little bit, but got back down. And that's why, again, important to make sure you're working with somebody like myself who knows when to lock you, when to float you, when not to lock you. That's important. But as importantly is having a conversation with you, saying, here's what I see, here's what I want. What are your thoughts? How do you feel? Because I mention this all the time to folks, okay? The pain of the rate going up is 10 times worse than the euphoria of the rate going down. So keep that in mind. 15-year, 6.33. FHA, 6.24. Jumbo, 7.30. VA, 6.25. 5-1 arm, 6.58. So, look, little status quo. We had a little hiccup this week. CPI comes out this week. So, hopefully we get some good news there and we could get our rates back into that, like Dave said, it's the little ladybug ride at Audubon. Let's get it back on that little downside, right, on that part. So let's get into credits, Credit Awareness Month, right? And listen, it is absolutely zero. And for those who know me know what you see is what you get, right? But it's no secret I am not a fan of these credit repair companies. And the reason I'm not is because I know what it takes to repair credit, and I know when somebody's doing it to turn a profit versus when somebody's doing it for lending purposes versus reporting purposes. And when we're looking at this, so many of you get some just bad advice. And this comes when you're not dealing with maybe a lender that, hey, he's been doing this for 30 years, have seen tens of thousands of credit reports. Heck, probably hundreds of thousands, to be honest. What am I thinking? Of credit reports over the years. So I know how to manage this. I know how to help you through it. And you see these credit repair companies who sell you on something that it just looks good and it's a number on a piece of paper. So what I want to talk about first today, we're going to go last week. Hey, go back, check it out. Go subscribe to Mortgage Gumbo on YouTube, and you'll get the videos instantly. Go follow Gumbo Nation group on Facebook. Last week we explained how credit is scored. This week we're going to break down, in these areas, what are some tips you can do and a few tricks. But before we do that, I want to help you understand when you're looking at, let's just say when you're looking at your credit bureau, what's on it, and kind of maybe help you give some tips. Because remember, 25% of credit bureaus have errors. So you're not wrong when you go, hey, that's not me. So let's kind of talk about that. And so number one, when you get that every month, take your time and go through it. Don't just look at the score. Make sure that the accounts that are on there, are they yours? Do you recognize them? Now, you may see something that says JP MCD. Well, you may not know that that's JP Morgan, that's Chase. So Google it, look up that code, find out what it is. There's a phone number on there. But make sure that these accounts are your accounts. That you and make sure you recognize them. Okay? But that's why I'm telling you, the codes, it's not going to stand up. It may not just come out and go, Dwayne Stein. And if you have them, are there any accounts that maybe aren't reporting? Maybe you've got a credit card, an auto loan that's not reporting, that you've been paying well, that you want that history. You want to make sure that you get with those credit bureaus and get them reporting accurately. Okay? Hey, if you've had a bankruptcy, make sure, I've seen this and help people with this. Make sure if you've got a bankruptcy that the accounts that were included in that bankruptcy are marked as such. The last thing you want is something that, hey, look, you had to make the tough decision to go bankrupt, and then the credit bureau doesn't include everything in there. You want that. So make sure that those are reporting. Your personal information. Your address. Is your address current? Is that an address that you've lived at? If it's 2 to 5 years old, call the credit bureau and ask them to remove it. Sometimes some of that funky debt, maybe that electric bill, like I had. I showed that electric bill company. I showed them. I just didn't pay them. Well, guess what? Get that old address removed, some of that stuff disappears. Some of that bad debt goes with those old addresses when you're looking at 2 to 5 years old. Employer, make sure that's correct. That's easy. Now, what you got to make sure, though, too, if there's any chances that you do have errors, see what bureau is reporting it. In other words, if Discover's reporting wrong on Experian, don't go to TransUnion or Equifax. You got to correct it with Experian. And then what you want to do is follow whatever their guidelines are to help you with that. And then when you call them, ask them if they'll delete. Before you settle with somebody, hey, will you delete any negative remarks? And if it's truly reporting incorrectly, folks, it's okay to dispute it. But what I have issues with disputes is when it's 3 years later and it says customer disputes and it's showing it's from 2017. Come on now. So if it's truly a dispute where it wasn't yours or you're in the process of getting that fixed, credit bureaus aren't like they were when I first got into this business. And you requested the stuff, you had to write it, went into no man's land. Now they got to get you an answer within 30, 60 days. That's why we look at disputes and we kind of take them a little bit serious, because it should be able to be managed by then. And again, when you're dealing with those creditors, right, see if they'll remove it, right? Negotiate. Hey, you want my money? I know I kind of went bad on you, but I want to do something right. I want to make things right. Hey, can we get those negative remarks removed? Get into that. Those are the things we kind of do when we're looking at how do we help you. That's what separates us from Johnny and the online lender or the local bank that doesn't know what they're doing. That's what separates us. We actually go through your credit bureau, but credit doesn't intimidate us, and we're able to help you get your score. If I could get you, like someone this week, from a 617 to a 621, like I did this week for somebody, it saved them 0.5%. Another lender had him approved at the 617. But for $100, I got him over a 620, saved him 0.5%, and a whole different program. You deserve that. And any savings you could get right now, you want to take advantage of. This is our final segment, talking about February is Credit Awareness Month, and we're giving some tips and tricks here on how to improve your credit. So, look, the largest part of your credit score comes from payment history. It's 35% of your score. So, you know, when you're looking at, hey, how can you help me here? We can't make you go back in time and pay your bills on time, right? But with that said, you know, if you've got a 30, a 60, a 90 day, call that creditor. Ask them, is there a way to do a modification so you could get it brought back to current? That way you don't have like, hey, you fell past due. I didn't make my payment by January 30th. So now you're due for the month of January. Well, February's now here, right? So if you make a payment, that's January, you're still due for February. So that's a rolling 30. Then you got 60 days, 90 days. Look, call them. See if you can get a modification to get it brought current. It's not going to be immediate, But it's better than getting it where it's just a rolling 90-day score on your credit. Okay? And that will help you out better than you going, hey, you know what? I'm heading down a dirty path. I'm out. Now, credit repair companies love if you're in collections, look, they will try and go negotiate with these folks. Understand this. Any charge-offs, I don't know if you know this, but what you charge off is income. And they'll send you that, and you're supposed to report that as income on your taxes because you didn't pay it, right? But you got to be careful with these credit repair companies. They want to try and settle. Look, if it's something that's been on there for 2+ years, I tell my clients this all the time, and this is where banks and folks that just don't know get it wrong. You go spend money unnecessarily. Let that sleeping dog lie. It's already crushed your credit. Let's try to find out, which we're going to go over in a second, how we can maybe beat the system and improve your score. Okay? And that's why we say negotiating on paying your bills, you got to be careful. We don't want to negotiate with something that's 90 days. We'd rather modify it than try to negotiate and they charge it off. We don't want that. That's only going to hurt your credit. Second largest is amount owed, your credit utilization. Here's where we play. This is where we play every day. Not one credit bureau I look at that I don't look at and go, all right, let's go play in this ballpark here, in this playground. And to optimize on credit utilization, on your credit cards, to optimize your score on any one credit card, you want to be at 30% or below. So if you've got a $1,000 credit limit and you owe $350, that's 35%, right? But if you get to $300 or $299, I always go $1 below. Now you're below 30%. Now you're maximizing your score. Just like if you got a $1,000 credit limit and you're at $990, you're at 90+%. If you get to $300, you're at 30. But listen, folks, we understand everybody can't do that. And a lot of times, we don't worry about that. We try to use cash is king here at Mortgage Gumbo. So we try to use the minimal amount possible. So we'll work in 10% increments. Maybe that $1,000 credit card limit and yet $950. Let's see what it does when we get to $899. Let's spend $50. Maybe getting it below that 10% will work. Let me go look at and see if we get it underneath a little bit more to 80%, 70%, going forward. We're going to work in those increments. And here's what every one of you should do right now. If you have a credit limit and you've been paying on time and you're over 50%, call right now. Call your credit card company. If you've been paying on time, you want to improve your credit score immediately, call them right now and ask them to increase your limit. There's no cost, there's no obligation. But if you've got a $1,000 credit limit and they increase it to $1,250, well, now you just went from 80% utilization down to 60% or 50%, whatever they give you. That's immediate score impact right off the bat. Boom, Yahtzee. Thank you. Mic drop.
2 minutes.
And then another one is length of credit history. You can't go back in time. We can't make you older. We can't push you forward, right, and skip your life, so to speak. But what we can do is we can piggyback off of those who have had that experience. Mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa. And that's by getting instant impact, again, and become an authorized user. And that way you piggyback off of their 10, 15, 20 years of credit is instantly now on your credit bureau and you see the impacts. Now, please be careful. Don't go get on Uncle Johnny's credit and he's at maxed out and he don't pay. That will crush your credit. But when you're looking at it, if you can become an authorized user, that is immediate impact. Immediate. Remember, folks, 1 out of 4 credit bureaus have errors.
30.
So go through it. Look at it. And we do all this for you as well. Go visit snapsendandsave.com. We're more than happy. We give you a free credit look. We look at everything to help you get ready, whether refinancing or purchasing a home. Go out, have a great Mardi Gras. Happy Valentine's Day. And until next week, Gumbo Nation, keep stirring the pot.